Reflection 6. Why the songs came. The lyrical interpretations arrived without announcement. They didn't present themselves as part of the same work. In fact, for a while, I treated them as something else entirely. Creative detours, moments of play, a different register of expression that ran alongside the more reflective writing but didn't quite belong to it. That misreading didn't last. I began to notice when the songs appeared. Not during periods of leisure or abstraction, but under load. When thinking felt expensive. When life was already moving, and there wasn't time to reason my way back to what I knew. When emotion outran analysis and the usual tools felt too slow. The songs weren't explanations, they were recognitions. Where essays asked the mind to work, lyrics asked it to remember. They didn't unfold arguments, they compressed them. They bypassed deliberation and went straight to pattern, rhythm, and felt sense. They carried insight in a form that could survive fatigue, grief, desire, and immediacy. That's when their function became clear. They were not ornaments, they were shortcuts, quick-access routines for moments when the system couldn't afford full computation. Ways of restoring orientation without overload. Ways of returning to alignment without having to reconstruct it from first principles every time. A line of lyric could do what pages of prose sometimes could not. Interrupt a spiral, soften a grip, reintroduce proportion, remind the body of what the mind already knew but couldn't currently retrieve. The songs were how the system stayed humane. They allowed wisdom to travel lightly, not as doctrine, not as instruction, but as something carried in the bloodstream. Something available when attention was scarce and stakes were high. I began to see that this wasn't a departure from the architecture. It was the interface layer. The place where structure meets lived moment. Where insight becomes usable at speed. Just as an operating system relies on cached routines to keep running under pressure, the lyrical work allowed the deeper frameworks to remain accessible when life stopped being theoretical. I wasn't trying to turn philosophy into art. I was making sure the system could still function when thinking was no longer the bottleneck, when energy was. The songs didn't replace the other work. They completed it. They ensured that what had been learned slowly could still be remembered quickly.